Hi there, my name is Ian McNaughton, and this is episode 2 of the Last Great Stanley Cup Finals, a Speak Your Piece series. In this series, we're reviewing the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals on the 10-year anniversary of each game. On this episode, SYP creator Scott Konkin and I break down the Vancouver Canucks 3-2 overtime victory against the Boston Bruins in Game 2 of the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals, thanks to Alex Burrows scoring the game winner. In case you missed the first episode, you can go back and listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also watch full video episodes on our YouTube channel, so be sure to like each video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for your support along the way to make these episodes happen. Enjoy! Welcome back. This is episode 2 of the last great Stanley Cup Finals ever. We're calling it. This is game 2 between the Boston Bruins and Vancouver Canucks 2011 Stanley Cup Finals. Joining us for this podcast is SYP creator Scott. Scott, we did game 1 earlier with Keith and Rav.
Yep.
Now we're doing game 2. Watching this game, what did you think was different from game 1 to game 2? What do you think was the biggest difference in this game?
Game 1 was, without obviously, saying was a defensive war without a doubt, being 1-0 scoreline. Game 2, I just remember 10 years ago, there was a certain sense of like, okay, we've got game 1. Let's see what happens here. The Bruins, obviously, is a good team. But fact is, like, as a Canuck fan at the time, there was a certain sense of like, if we can win this game and take at least 1 in Boston, I think we're winning the cup. And obviously now we know the score. They Canucks won the game 3-2. Not to spoil anything or whatever.
No, they won 3-2 in overtime. Like it's out there.
Fact is, like, it was just, I think there was a lot of nerves in game 1. Game 2, everyone kind of settled in and played like they should. And it was a very Vancouver versus Boston game, essentially. That, like, just how the flow of the game was, it was just very, like, Vancouver-Boston. Like, some of the other games that were absolute blowouts, that's not typical. Like, Game 7, Game 3 were both blowouts, I believe. They weren't typical games, but anyways.
I was going to say, the nice part about this game compared to the last game was that Game 1, it was a 1-0 overtime game. Like, it was still, like, it was a fun 1-0 overtime game. Like, recently, as we record this, Vegas, Minnesota just played game 1 of their playoff series recently. And it was a fun, exciting 1-0, competitive hockey game. And that ended in overtime. Mm-hmm. So you can have these, competitive 1-0 games. But it's much more exciting when it's 3-2. There's some goal scoring. There's a bit more of a momentum. There wasn't really a momentum swing in game 1, I thought it was just very competitive, altogether. But you could sense there were momentum swings in game 2 when it came to the Bruins taking the lead and then Vancouver having to fight back and then Vancouver winning shortly in overtime. Yep. So this one, I think it will still be a good podcast. It'll also just be a little bit more exciting, I would say, compared to the first one. I think they're both really good, but.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think the first one was good that you brought on 2 other guests with more of Canucks biases, if you will. Keith Fernand and Ravish Dollywall, both Canucks fans. Again, like you said, there's more to talk about here, and it's going to be, So I think let's get into it and see.
So let me hit you with some fun facts. Alex Burrows scoring 11 seconds into the overtime period. That makes it the second fastest Stanley Cup final overtime goal all time. Brian Skrundlund had the fastest overtime goal in playoff history, scoring 9 seconds into game 2 of the 1986 Stanley Cup final for the Montreal Canadiens against the Calgary Flames. So we'll talk about, but there's 3 guys I want to talk about in this game, but Burrows is definitely going to be one of them later on, but I wanted to throw that out there. He had 2 goals in this game, including the game winner. This was one of 3 career 2-goal playoff games for Burrows. The other one was game 4 in the 2009 playoffs in their first round matchup against St. Louis, and then game 7 of the first round matchup in 2011 against Chicago.
Slay the Dragon, yeah.
Slay the Dragon.
Yeah.
So
I figured that would be one of them. Yeah.
So Vancouver won both of those games, Vancouver also won this game. And 4 of his 8 career multi-point playoff games came in 2011 against Chicago, Nashville, I believe, and then Boston. Just a fun fact. This was also the game where Manny Malhotra played in after his return.
That's right. He got a hit in the eye. Was it late in the regular season or was it early playoffs?
Late March against the Colorado Avalanche, where it was just this weird play where it was like, just tip it in on the dump in, and then the puck, he was at center ice, and then the puck came up and hit him in the face, hit him in the eye. And then that was on March 16th, 2011. Now, this game is happening June 4th, so he's missed 2+ months of action. And you could sense the energy and the vibe is better with Malhotra in the lineup. He is just the fourth line gritty centerman who's taking faceoffs, but it's still a big addition for the Canucks in this game.
No, absolutely. I agree with you there for sure. And again, he's the guy that's gonna. Well, I mean, he was only 50% in the game, but to me, he's automatic in the draw. He's gonna win everything. He's just so good, and I think he was or is the Canucks faceoff coach. I believe. I think was.
I think it's in Toronto now. I think he might be the video coach with Toronto. I just want to pull that up before we move on. But he is working as an assistant coach.
And I guarantee you he works with guys with centermen in the faceoff.
Assistant coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs right now.
There you go. Yeah.
On the Boston side of things, the Boston Red Sox moved their game. So on June 4th, they had a game against the Oakland Athletics at Fenway Park, which they moved from 7:10 p.m. Eastern time to 1:10 p.m. Eastern time to allow Bruins fans to watch both games, which I thought is kind of cool. We're both baseball guys. We like baseball. And it's nice when you see other sports trying to accommodate and trying
for that. Yeah.
Trying to help one another.
No, absolutely. And it's a surprise. Usually, like weekend, because this was on a Saturday. This was Hockey in Canada Saturday night. I'm surprised that the ball game wasn't earlier anyway, because normally ball games are earlier. Like generally speaking, on weekends, like you always see the Jays, they never play at 7 p.m. on a Saturday. They always play at 1 or 10.
I was gonna say Jays are one of the few teams that do like the matinee Saturday Sunday games too, which is nice.
Right. Which is really nice. Yeah, I know Seattle usually does a Saturday night game, but it just depends on the week and scheduling and all that. But good on the Red Sox for doing that. Sure.
So the Red Sox beat the A's 9-8 in 14 innings. So the actual game time was 5 hours and 10 minutes. So it finished approximately about 2 hours, I think, before game 2 actually started between the Bruins and the Canucks. So it's a good thing they did move the start time, because otherwise it would have been a mess.
Yeah, good day to be a Boston sports fan right there.
Oh, yeah. So Tyler Sagan.
Yes. Really
fascinating player. So Tyler Sagan for the Boston Bruins, he was just drafted in the previous draft.
Yep.
He had just 8:46, time on ice in game 2, which is the third lowest total of all Bruins in game 2. Andrew Alberts had, I think, 11 minutes of ice time in this game. Andrew Alberts, I think, had more ice time than Tyler Sagan. But I want to discuss this with you. So he had at least 10 minutes or more of ice time in 5 of the 2011 Eastern Conference Final games against Tampa Bay. Right. And I want to give you a running total of Tyler Sagan. So he had 6 minutes and 21 second total ice time in game 1 against Vancouver. He had 8 minutes 46 in game 2. Yep. He didn't even play game 3 because of Sean Thornton. Right. We'll talk about that later on. He had 7 minutes 48 seconds in game 4 against Vancouver, 9:02 in game 5. He did play 10 minutes more in 6 and 7. This was one of the players I wanted to have this conversation about with you is Tyler Sagan. So I remember this at the time. It was a weird mesh with Sagan being a rookie and and you have a veteran team in Claude Julien. What do you remember or your thoughts about the Tyler Sagan experience in Boston during this time?
I just remember he was picked second overall to a Bruins team who had traded for this pick and gave up Phil Kessel to Toronto. So this essentially was Toronto's pick. And Toronto at the time was garbage. It was absolute garbage. And now they're a great team now. And that's whatever. So point is that the Bruins were just adding another electric piece to their already unreal team. And I think it's a lot like what's happening in Montreal with Cole Caulfield right now. As of recording right now, I'm watching the Montreal-Toronto game here. Caulfield's not playing. Neither is Romanov. But I compare him to Caulfield. They're both forwards. They're both right-hand shots. Whatever. Point is, like, Sagan should – personally, I believe Sagan should be playing more. But again, you have to – in the playoffs with a team like the Bruins who has a great amount of depth, you can kind of, like, play players to their strengths. And Sagan's strength isn't playing that hard physical game that you would, quote, normally see from the Bruins. And that's what Sean Thornton brings to the fold, right? So with that in mind, again, taking a sports psychology class right now, and you want to really emphasize what a player's strength is so they'll be able to perform to the best of their ability. Sagan in Game 3, because I think Sean Thornton played Game 3 instead of Sagan.
Instead of Sagan, we'll discuss it later on in Game 3. But Thornton comes in, replaces Sagan. It's in TD Garden. The Bruins are home. They're down 2-0. They got some swagger. Now they get some mojo with Sean Thornton coming in.
Yeah. And again, he provides that physical bite that Sagan just doesn't. And I think the Bruins wanted to make that switch, so the Bruins could really run the Canucks into the ground in Game 3. And again, we know what happened after that. But back to Sagan here, it's like his time on ice did go up throughout the series, which is encouraging. I think that's definitely, an important thing is to get your rookies into play more and more. And but yeah, great experience for him. Good for him winning the cup in his first year. I'm sure it's made him even hungrier to do it again as a more impactful player now with Dallas, and I'm sure he'll get another one at some point in his career. But time will tell.
I was gonna say it's definitely like the team identity at the time was not playing Tyler Sagan, even though he is better than Sean Thornton. Maybe even as the second overall pick and as a rookie, he might be a better overall hockey player than Sean Thornton.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of what the Bruins are trying to do and their style of play that they're going after.
Oh, 100%.
And I'm not surprised it didn't work out with Sagan in Boston. I wish it did because they could obviously use a guy like Sagan right now, just another talented scoring option.
Well, there's another side piece to that is that now Taylor Hall, who was the first pick in that draft, is now a Bruin, and look what he's doing there.
So it just makes you wonder. It's just crazy how life works and where situations will take you.
Absolutely.
So other fun fact. So Burrows got the opening goal for Vancouver on the power play. Kind of a weak one off Tim Thomas's, I think it was a short side. Kind of a weird goal from Burrows. Milan Lucic got Boston's first goal of the series in the second period of Game 2.
Yeah, he did.
Which, I mean, I'll go about it later on, but I mean, cool seeing Lucic scoring in Vancouver and helping his team. Mark Recchi gives Boston the lead 2 minutes, 30 seconds after the Lucic goal, which I believe that Recchi goal was like a weird, almost looked like a tip in from Chara at the point, but almost kind of looked like it took a bounce in front of Luongo as well. But Recchi gets the second. Recchi gets the second.
It was like a weird fumbly play that kind of I remember watching the highlights of that. Yeah, right.
It was just a weird play where Recchi gets credit with the goal, and I'm sure he does tip it, but it's like a weird, tough play for Luongo to make. Daniel Sedin gets the tying goal in the third period. Off a nice pass from Alexander Burrows in the slot. Burrows with the nice little sweet pass over to his right to Sedin, who puts it home past Thomas.
Oh, that's great little set play. Again, that's to me iconic Daniel Sedin. In fact, funny thing is, Daniel totally whiffed on the puck. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Yes, he did.
He had the whole. So here's the net. He had the whole open side, and he shoots it above Thomas's pad.
Thomas should have made the save. Like Thomas should have stopped that puck, but
he shouldn't have. But
with where Sedin shot that puck, with where he 100%. Placed it, Thomas should have probably made the save. But
no, I agree with you there, 100%. It's a shock that puck stayed. That puck went in the net, to be honest. But high game 2-2.
Tie game 2-2, and then Burrows 11 seconds into overtime with the nice little fake on Thomas, and then does the wraparound
nasty.
goal.
It reminds me of the Kapanen goal in the World Juniors to
win
a gold medal. Very like similar.
A nice little fake. Deeks the goalie. I'm calling. So this next segment I want to call is the penny for your thought. So this is kind of some what ifs, some questions from the series. So Burrows bit Patrice Bergeron in game 1. He gets no supplemental discipline for it. Burrows is allowed to play for the rest of the series. If Burrows is suspended for this game, if for whatever he doesn't play game 2, I don't know how long, maybe he gets a game suspension, or if he doesn't play game 2, do you think the Canucks win this game?
No, I don't think so. And not just for the fact that he scored 2 goals. He's such an important player, especially playing because he was on the line with Sedins at the time, and that, you know, if one of the Bruins guys was to fuck with the Sedins, he's right there to back him up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like I don't want to compare him to McSorley to Gretzky, but like in that sort of same kind of light, right?
Yeah. In that sense.
That protector, but someone also has a bit of skill and can finish. And Burrows is just such a unique player that we've got a good blend of grit and skill and speed. And he had 3 points. He was in on all 3 goals, and I think he was +2 or +1 for the game, maybe. Anyways, point is no, they don't win the game. Burrows is too important of a player in that game, especially, but overall in the whole series. That it's kind of like when you lose. It's kind of like when you lose Zach Hyman from Toronto.
Mm.
He's great. Kind of that comparison, like, you know, you got the Sedin, you got Kessler, you got BX, you got Hamhuis at the time, you got Chris Higgins, another example.
Mason Raymond, by the way.
Raymond even, yeah. Or Burrows is that piece that, you know, you lose him, it's like, well, now you gotta fuck with the lines a little bit, and it just everything gets out of sync. He's like the glue kind of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good glue guy. Yeah, I don't think the Canucks win this game if there's no Burrows. It's very tough to picture and imagine a way. I mean, even though they felt like they had quite a bit of momentum in this game, it's still very tough to picture them getting a win without Burrows at least being a part of it.
No, for sure. I agree. And again, he was such a huge performer in the whole playoffs, for that matter. And, you know, you look at game 7 in the first round, and just not even just that. There's those 2 performances, game 2 in the cup and game 7 in the first round. Like, overall the playoffs, he was really, really solid.
The whole run.
For sure. No, for sure.
The other question I have, or what if, a penny for your thoughts.
Sure.
How long do Maxime Lapierre and Raffi Torres last on a line together in 2021 before one of them gets suspended or supplemental discipline? Like, I'm watching this game, and obviously those are the kind of players that they are, and that's how they play, and they're great for the finals. They play on the edge, and they try and push it to see how far they can get. How long in today's NHL, 10 years later in 2021, how long are they lasting on a line together before one of them gets suspended?
4 games, 5 games maybe. And again, it depends if it's the playoffs or not. And they are edge players, I like to call. They definitely do play with an edge, and they play on the edge. And it's 5 games, 4. I said 4 games. Yeah, I'm gonna say
over under 4.5 games.
Oh, under 4.5 games for sure. I think they're, especially, and also depends who they're playing against too. Like, you know, you're gonna see one of those guys take a healthy run at someone and catch him high in the head, or like if you put Kadri in the middle of that, under 3 games, guaranteed. No word on his suspension yet, but I'm going to assume he's getting suspended for his hit. As we record this, Colorado St. Louis game 2, he hit, was it Shen or Shorts?
I don't know who it was, but one of the Blues players.
He caught Paul. The kid took an absolute run and hit him in the head. Dirty hit.
So you're saying like Torres and Lapierre just together, like they wouldn't work, and then you throw Kadri on that line, and it's going to be like all over, like player discipline every week.
In 2011, that would be one hell of a third line.
Yes.
But in 2021, that's one hell of a suspendable line right there. So that's my take for.
Yeah, I think SYP creator Keith, I was texting him about it, and he said like Torres would get another 42 game suspension for something, like knowing him, he's gonna get 42 games for headbutting or somebody, anything, he'll get a 42 game suspension.
Yeah.
Dave Bolin, best moments of the game. Again, I'm calling it Dave Bolin best moments for this game, just for the fun and exciting parts of Dave Bolin's Stanley Cup Finals career, where he got the game-winning goal, I believe it was. Bickle got the tying goal against Boston, and then Bolin got the game winner.
Bolin got the game winner. That's correct. Yeah, ripped his helmet off or his gloves off or
his
something.
Gloves off.
Yeah.
I think the best moment in this game was one of the best moments, anyways, was Milan Lucic going in front of the home crowd in the second period.
Yeah, I was gonna make a comment on that earlier, but glad you brought it back up again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure Vancouver fans love that because I don't remember. It might have been during the finals or it might have been after, before. I'm not sure, but excuse me. Like I think it was. I remember hearing a story about him picking fights with a guy at a bar, just a random Vancouver bar. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's kind of a dick. He's from Vancouver, but
former Vancouver Giant.
Well, that's my point. There you go. So, he wasn't legal at the time. He couldn't go out and drink and stuff, but he probably did anyways. But fact is, Vancouver fans, I'm sure, love that, and I think he gave like a big fist bump Selly to the crowd, and good for him. And big goal for the Bruins at the time. They need that was the first goal of the series, right? Wasn't it?
That was the first goal of the series, Game 2, second period.
Good for him, and fitting he does it on Vancouver ice.
So, I kind of want to have this kind of in-depth conversation about Lucic a little bit, because I like at the time, I like Lucic and what he did at the time, like who he was as a player. Like he peaked with Boston. He had 60 points, I think, a couple seasons with the Bruins. I think he had his place in the game. Like I think there was the need for somebody like a Milan Lucic, even though he wasn't the most talented player, and the game was going away from his kind of skills, and what he did. Like was never that great of a skater. Never totally felt comfortable shooting the puck. You can say this about him now, but were you a Milan Lucic guy? Did you like Lucic, and did you think he was a good player at the time?
There were different players I liked on the Bruins more than him.
Okay.
Bergeron, Krejci, Horton, Savard, Seidenberg. I could keep going for days, but Bergeron and Krejci were two guys that I kind of looked up to on the Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I didn't really like the Bruins, to be honest. Even before the Canucks series, Lucic has always played with an edge. I like Marchand now. He's settled down. He plays with more skill, but he still plays with that bit of grit. Man, cut to Marchand's hands. He's nasty. I'm not a big Lucic guy, to be honest. He's just slow and like lethargic, and
it's quite noticeable in this series how slow and lethargic and Bambi he is out on the ice.
Absolutely. Again, effective player, and don't get me wrong, he's got a place in the game, and put him with Horton and Krejci, who he's with, two faster guys. Great, third piece to that line. I'm not really a fan of him myself, to be honest.
I thought he made sense in Boston for what they wanted to do and how they like to play.
Absolutely.
It kind of made sense in LA, but it was kind of also when it was a bad mix at the time with him going to LA, because the team was obviously deteriorating and getting worse and falling off. He was also falling off. Yeah. So they kind of just fell off together.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And then
he plays an old school game in a new school sport. And that's the thing, is that he needs to work on his foot speed, and he just simply never did. He's no faster than he was 10 years ago, in my opinion.
No, and I mean, they tried to make it work in Edmonton, and it just didn't. Yeah. Like it just like that is kind of just who Milan Lucic is. That's right. Like what you're getting when you get Milan Lucic, and
for sure, yeah.
And it was never really gonna work. I think like they were hoping, or like they thought in Edmonton, and even in Calgary, he's fine in Calgary. Probably shouldn't be a top 6 player.
Well,
Probably
he's not.
no, and probably was a mistake to trade James Neal for him. But I mean, I think that's just kind of who he is, and I like him. I think I still kind of have a bit of stock in Milan Lucic just as like what he can be, and if you pay him like he's not a $3 or $4 million player, he's like a $1 or $2 million player, kind of with how today's NHL is.
Yeah.
Like if you put him 20, 30 years ago and plop him into the NHL today, I think he's an extremely talented player. And
he's like a Darren McCartney.
Darren McCartney, hot commodity, essentially.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just.
I'm with you there.
It's just born a little too late.
I'd agree with that. One thing I have going for him is that he's number 17, and as you can tell, that's my number right there. So, yeah, I was for that.
That's his one saving grace for you.
One saving grace for me. That's why I don't hate his guts. He's again, like I said, he's an effective player, and he's good at what he does. I'm just not the biggest fan of him.
So the other best moment I have from this game.
Yeah.
I don't try and go for all the goals and the cool stuff, but I mean the Lucic one was pretty obvious. There's another one with Daniel Sedin getting airborne after making contact with Thomas in the third period. I don't know if you saw that. Where I don't know exactly what happened, but Sedin kind of just went into Thomas, and then he just kind of like went backwards, like head over heels type thing. I don't know why or how it. If you can find it, it's a really funny video.
I'm just gonna. Oh yeah, here we go. That was game 3, I think.
No, it should have been game 2. Not the Sedin getting punched, not him getting punched, but like he like takes a bit of a tumble behind Thomas in the crease.
Okay. Maybe.
I'll show it to you later if you haven't seen it. But I'll pull it up for you later. But I wrote down that it honestly looked like me like tubing when my dad intentionally sent me through the wake he created 10 seconds earlier. Like, dad, like he creates the circle, like he creates the wake, and it's like cool and all that. And then he just goes full speed into the wake and just like puts me 10 feet up in the air, and I was not prepared for it. And that probably speaks to who I am as a person now. Like when my dad was creating weights for us tubing on Okanagan Lake.
Good times.
That I thought was the best moment. Worst moment, Steve Smith. Worst moment, Steve Smith, of course, is the Edmonton Oiler who put the puck in his own net in 1985, I believe it was, or 86 against the Flames.
Would have been the year they didn't win the cup, so 86,
86, I think it was. Rich Peverley with the stick to the midsection of Kevin Bieksa in the third period. I don't know if you saw that, where I believe Bieksa and Peverley were coming out of the corners, and Peverley just gave him the gourmet shot right to Kevin Bieksa. It was a really dirty play, and I don't know if Peverley got disciplined for it. And you can see Bieksa's pissed at it.
Figures.
And it's just like, that's a dirty play that didn't get called, but it's playoff hockey, so it goes on. So it's fine. It's if you did in the playoffs, it's cool, but in the regular season, it's probably like $5,000 CBA max.
Anything goes in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Or it shouldn't, but it does. Anyways.
I don't know if it's the best or worst moment is Lapierre sticking his finger in Bergeron's face after the game 1 biting incident with Burrows. Mm-hmm. I put it down as a worst moment. I don't know how you feel about the whole biting incident. It just kind of just feels like very childish and very like, I don't know, just immature if you ask me, but
it's just unsportsmanlike, to be honest. Like if I don't know, it's hard to catch that, but if I was a referee, like it's really hard to catch, like especially in a scrum when you can't see anything. And remember, referees aren't supposed to break up fights. It's a linesman job. So referees are supposed to see the bigger picture and see who's causing the most shit. And a little poking, or was it like a poker, like finger in the face, that's gonna go unnoticed most of the time, especially in the playoffs, right? And like, it's not great. It's immature. It's stupid. It's nothing more than a 2-minute unsportsmanlike. To be honest, it's like, again, it's how I look at it. Like in a scrum, and this is minor hockey. In a scrum, that's 2 minutes. That's 4 minutes. See you later. That's a fight. That's a game, right? So in the NHL, that's just a scrum. Like guys don't do that all the time. It shouldn't happen, but it does. You do what you do to get under an opponent's skin, and Maxime Lapierre is very good at that, like you said, mentioned earlier, but just don't do it. I would never do it as a player. Don't do it.
I would do that as a player, but again, as we talked about before, I am the guy who put up the 3 to the opposing bench when I scored a hat trick in an exhibition game against a fellow Squamish hockey team. So I am that asshole, but I wouldn't be the asshole who like. Also, we had cages, so I guess we couldn't really do that. But I wouldn't be the asshole who like stuck my finger.
Hey, your brother ripped down my visor a couple years ago.
That is true. He did actually do that.
So you can do shit with cages on. It's just you got to pick your battles right, and he picked his battle right. That's for sure.
He definitely did. Do you have another best or worst moment from this game that stood out to you?
Let me see. Alex Burrows kept the fans happy in Vancouver.
Yes.
That I think that overtime goal. Well, okay. 2 of the 3, like the second goal by Sedin, that's just timeless. I always see that in clips of Daniel Sedin whenever they're like talking about him on TSN or SportsCenter or Sportsnet. I always see clips of that for whatever reason. I'm like, okay, that's a Daniel Sedin goal. I was in the cup final. I remember that. And the Burrows goal, that was so. I don't know. Once that happened, to me, it was like we're gonna win this series. There's no way we're not. And I remember like there was talk about we won round 1 in game 7, round 2 in 6 games,
yeah,
3 in game 5. We won the first 2. Let's sweep the Bruins in 4 and come and bring the cup back home to Vancouver. And that was the talk at the time. And I think first week in June, I think we were both in grade 4.
Yeah, like, I just moved there.
You would just moved.
I just moved to Squamish.
Your first year in Squamish. The town was buzzing. Let me tell you that for free.
We
were grade 6. Sorry, we were grade 6. That's a lot.
No, we were grade 4.
2011, dude. Grade 6.
Do the math. Might have been grade 5. Grade 5, I think it was.
No, grade 5 was the Olympics, 2010.
No, grade 4 was the Olympics.
Oh, you're right. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So sorry, I'm wrong. We're both wrong, but it's grade 5.
Yeah, you may want to edit that up later.
Yeah, I probably will. So with that being said, the Burrows goal is obviously a big one.
Yeah.
I guess to top it off with Burrows, because he's kind of the big pitcher guy here. He was a big contributor in this game.
He was the story of game 2.
He was the story of game 2. Pardon me?
He must have been the first star.
Yeah, he was the first star of the game.
Cool.
This is the peak of Alex Burrows? Like, I don't think there's anything bigger or better for Alex Burrows than his game 2 performance.
Probably not, to be honest. No, this is probably the best. I mean, this was at the time, actually, whatever. The best Alex Burrows we'd ever seen was the 2011 playoffs, without a doubt. But you could say that about a lot of Canucks. You'd say that about Kessler. You say that about the Sedins, maybe. You could say that about
Luongo, maybe.
Luongo, maybe Bieksa. A bunch of guys you could say like that was their peak, and Burrows is no exception there. He was an absolute stud in the playoffs and especially game 2. So.
Final thing that I have marked down is Pierre McGuire NBC mic checks, because at least I was watching the NBC feed for this game.
Of course.
Again, not a whole lot. Like there's a little kind of few tidbits here and there, but my favorite NBC mic check was the entire Rugby Sevens Collegiate Championship ad promo that they did at the 1:27 mark of the second period. So pretty much they come back from commercial, right? The NBC crew comes back from commercial.
Sure.
And Doc Emmerich says, battle it, says this thing and, battle it out literally at the Rugby Sevens Collegiate Championship tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern on NBC. And he names off all the colleges like the Notre Dame's, Cal, Stanford, Utah, all this shit.
Sure.
Doc Emmerich then follows up. It's like, it's a rough game. To which Eddie Olczyk follows up with, I think they enjoyed game 1, a few scrums up to this point. Like he says scrums, like, like, he's trying to make the point, like, the scrums in rugby, scrums in hockey, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got it.
And then Pierre McGuire says there are some interesting terms in that sport. Guys that are fast and play on the outside are called hookers, which is not true. That's not true by Pierre McGuire. Hookers are like the middle row forwards, like the number 2 forward, like right in the middle. Hookers do not play on the outside. Like they throw the line out, but they don't. Their position is not actually lined up on the outside. It's lined up in the middle.
Hookers are always in the mix, right, Ian?
Yes, exactly. Hookers are always in the mix, but no.
You would know, right?
I would know. I'm in the mix with hookers all the time. No.
Yeah, of course.
But there are some interesting terms in that sport. Guys that are fast and play on the outside are called hookers. Awkward silence, and then Doc Emmerich goes back to calling the game.
Classic. Actually, it's funny that Pierre said that. There was what was it? There was when I was in minor hockey, one of our coaches made it's actually a hilarious reference. Like he compared like defensemen, centermen, and wingers as to like roles in like society, right? So defensemen and centers were like guys that had girlfriends that stayed at home that were behaved
good men.
Yeah, good men. Yeah, exactly. And they would help out around the house, and like they're really tidy in the defensive zone, like the defensive zone, right? So, and then wingers. Funny you mentioned hookers are the outside players. So wingers were the guys that were absolute nuts. So they'd go out and they'd be aggressive. They'd be go out and make moves and be aggressive in the offensive zone and
get dirty.
Get dirty, get into it. And and at the time I think I had a girlfriend, and I was a winger on my team, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't really quite fit me well, but I'll make it work. So anyone that listens to this podcast and knows what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying. It's wingers play aggressive, play dirty, centers stay home and hang out with the girl. So
be the better man.
The better man. There you go. So
that's all I got for game 2. Obviously, like there's the Burrows 2 goals, the Lucic and Recchi goal, the obviously nice Sagan goal, not nice or nice, nice or not nice.
Nice play, shitty shot.
Nice play, shitty shot. Obviously Tim Thomas and Roberto Luongo had another spectacular game in this series. Both goaltenders terrific up to this point. Any other final takeaways or thoughts in this game?
Like I think I might have mentioned this briefly earlier. Game 2 was like kind of the point where I was sitting there. I'm like, the Canucks might win this in 4 games.
This is the destiny game. We talked about this, I think, in game 1, where at least we've talked about it in general, where when you're a championship team or when you go on a championship run, you have these like moments of destiny. Like you have the Burrows slaying the Dragon, you have the Bieksa goal against San Jose, you had the Torres goal in game 1. Like you have these moments of destiny that like you kind of feel like, okay, we're going to, with these, big moments, like this is what's going to, help us go to a championship and win a championship. I don't know if that's what the Burrows goal in game 2 overtime was, but you started getting the sense like this could happen. Like this really actually might happen.
No, for real. And now I think to your point, I wouldn't say it was like a destiny goal per se, but it was definitely a goal that really influenced how we thought the rest of the series could go or would go. And I truly believe that the Canucks would take one of the games in Boston and either win it on home soil in game 5 or win it in game 6 back in Boston. It just,
for whatever reason, it doesn't happen.
It just didn't happen. And I'm sure as you get into games 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we will dive into that further. So, yeah. But game 2 was a memorable one without a doubt. And,
Game 2 was fun. The Maholcha story was cool. The Lucic story was cool. The Burrows kind of being a heel type moment was like in wrestling, like the bad guy in wrestling. Like that was kind of a cool moment. And then it's just amazing how the rest of the series just 180, complete 180 after game 2.
Well, the Bruins won 4 or 5 for the next, right?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, you'll get into that in future pods, and whoever is on to talk about Game 3, I hope you're bringing up Bruins fan because they're gonna love talking about that.
They're gonna be more ecstatic than a Canucks fan.
Oh, absolutely.
Scott, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. As always, it's great when we get to do this. Be sure to keep on the lookout for Game 3. That podcast will come out on June 6th, and then Game 4 podcast will come out on June 8th. So Game 3, June 6th, Game 4, June 8th. Be on the lookout for those podcasts coming up. Thank you very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. You know where to find our stuff. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, watch us on YouTube, check out the website, check us out on Instagram. You know where to follow us. Thank you very much for listening. Peace out.